Right guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to this tutorial on how to make craters. Very quick and easy way apart from the drying process, but I'm going to show you how to make a set of craters which is not necessarily for 40k, you can use for craters in almost any game you want. So first of all, what you're going to need is some cereal box cardboard, or if you're a big drinker, maybe even some cider. Cut it into a nice rounded shape. And it's best to work on the glossy side, on the cardboard on the opposite side. If you put glue or anything, it tends to absorb in and causes it to curl. Plus you don't want to be looking at that on the bottom of your terrain every time you put it away. So we're starting off with a nice rounded piece of cardboard, and then I've got some polystyrene here which I'm going to cut into rough triangles to make a kind of dome as we go around. So we'll cut some triangles out of the polystyrene. Now, in relation to this, it doesn't need to be particularly neat because you're going to be covering nearly all of this anyway. And you want about 9 or 10 of these sort of triangular shapes, and you'll see what I'm going to do with them in a few moments. Right, so now that all the triangles are cut, we're going to stick them on. The rest of the ingredients that we're going to need for the moment is PVA glue, some sharp sand or building sand, and some poly filler. So the reason I said to use the glossy side, like I said, is because the glue would soak through as well as the paint or anything that you do as well. So what we're going to do now is, using the PVA glue, is we're going to glue these triangles into place. And what you want to do is make the peaks of the triangles form a circle. So put that one piece there, and just literally putting a thick bead of PVA glue around the edge. And like I said, it doesn't even have to be neat as long as it creates a rough circle. The height doesn't even have to be even. It doesn't even have to be that consistent. So the majority of that is now in place, but there is a couple of smaller gaps here which I would rather have some in, just to try and flesh it out a little bit, and you'll see why in a few moments. So if you've got any offcuts, just get them cut and get them put on. So there we go, with the PVA glue we've stuck the polystyrene down. As you can see, there's a very rough circle here with the slanted edges down all the sides. If you want to speed this process up, I'd recommend you probably use a hot glue gun, but for the moment I'm going to let this dry and we'll come back shortly. Right, so now that it's dry, unfortunately it is curling a little bit, but hopefully the weight of the polyfiller is going to stop that, and that's the next step. We're going to apply the polyfiller, and I've got a tub from the pound shop, so very cheap. And when I get into it, I'm going to apply it quite latheringly. Right, so I'm going to apply it using the wallpaper scraper basically. It's a case of scooping it out and literally plastering it on. Now, it doesn't matter if some of the polystyrene comes loose a little bit, it's absolutely fine. And this takes a while to do, but basically cover all of the gaps and all of the cardboard in the polyfiller. Like so. And if you kind of use a downward stroke motion, it does kind of look like the craters, and the mud or soil or gravel is moving down the side of it to give that banked effect. So this bit is messy, like I said, and it does take some time. You want to make sure you cover all the gaps, and as you can see, it makes quite a lot of raised edges ready for when you come to paint it. But we'll go all the way around, covering the entire thing in this manner, and we'll even do the inside of the crater as well. So I'm going to get the rest of that done, and we'll come back shortly. Alright, so there we go. Now that the whole thing is covered, we've even covered all the inside. We've used the wallpaper scraper just to kind of scrape it down and give it that very kind of rough effect, rather than using your hands, which would leave it quite smooth. They're going to sprinkle a little bit of sand here and there on it, and it'll just give it that little bit extra texture here and there when it dries and sets. So I'm not going too heavy with the sand, just little bits and pieces here and there. And there we go. So leave that to dry, and we'll come back when that's dried, ready to paint it. Right, so there we go. We've let it set for quite a while. It's now rock hard. So the next step is to get this sprayed up. So I'm going to use some cheap spray from the pound shop that I got, some dark grey primer. We'll come back and show you the next step once it's all sprayed up. Right, so welcome back. There we go. That is now sprayed up, and there's quite a lot of nice crevices and everything in there for us to now highlight. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use a technique called dry brushing. Most of you probably know where it is already, but if you don't, what we do to dry brush is we get some paint on our brush, and then we wipe most of it off so that it looks quite dry, and then we literally drag the brush across the surface like that, and as you can see, it just picks up the raised surfaces all the way around. So what we're going to do is we'll go over the whole piece of terrain, the whole crater, making sure that we get right down on the bottom edges as well. And like I said, it just really makes the rocks and the crevices really kind of pop and stand out. And doing the grey layer at this point, it's quite fine to do it reasonably heavy, because we're going to highlight it up again once we've done that. So there we go. As you can see there, it is pretty highlighted, and we'll look to do the same technique again, but this time with white. Right, so now we're going to move on to the white dry brushing, and again, same technique. It's a little harder to see on the white tissue, but we'll wipe most of the white paint off, and then we're just going to very lightly go over the top of it. And what it does is when you go over it lightly, it literally just picks up the very, very surface area, the very highest of surfaces around the edges there. Right, so there we go with all of the white dry brushing done, and that is complete. That is how easy it is to make a crater. Now by the time you get it on the table, all you want to do is add a couple of rocks sort of here and there. These ones are a little bit big, but then add some moss, and there you go. You're pretty much done. Very, very easy to hide. Put your models over it, and very easy to decorate and blend into the table. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this video useful. If you use it to make any craters or anything, please post some pictures up on the Facebook page. I'd be really interested to see them. So thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.